coming into alignment.
I find it interesting. Since I started doing the work with you about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I really worked hard to try to make the connection of source energy, inner being, higher self. And for about the 3 years, I just couldn't seem to make the connection. And then, of course, there's such a thing as coincidence. My therapist gave me a CD a number of months ago by Louise Hay called Learning to Love Yourself, which I probably tossed in the back of my car. And for some reason, I started listening to it about 3 months ago. And I believe that I've actually made the connection. I came from a very, very difficult upbringing and very, very abusive. And so I always had a hard time even liking myself very much. But since I started to work on these 10 points of learning to love myself, everything you've taught me is beginning to work. Because now I'm starting to practice to love myself every day. I do the mirror work, I write, but everything is falling into place. I wake up happy now. I wake up, I got some other stuff here. I wake up feeling connected. I actually wake up with music in my head. And so this is all happening as a result of, and this is what you've been saying for all these years, but I just couldn't make that connection because there was a block.
You said something interesting as you began about, for all of these years, 3 years, that you've been working hard. And in that, in other words, even in the effort, there's like an underlying realization that you have something that you are wanting to overcome. And in the attention on what you're wanting to overcome, you just add to that end of that tug of war. You don't soften it, you make it more. So it's a wonderful thing that when you decide that you want something and you stay focused upon it, eventually, every single time, the path of least resistance will be revealed to you. Or a better way of saying it is, you'll get to the place where you can see it. It's an essential thing. But to say, love yourself, much of what we said here today resonates with the very core of you. But in practical terms, how do you apply it? You say, you just have to care about it. We've been writing books for a long time, and they're full of processes that are all designed to help you a little bit at a time release resistance, because we know that as you peel those onion layers off, as you release the resistance, that in time, in the absence of that resistance, your vibration will rise right into alignment with who you really are. But even in the efforting of the processes, there's sometimes a backfiring effect, because every subject is two subjects, wanted and absence of it. And when you're standing in realization of the absence of something that you want, and then you are applying a process, working hard to overcome that absence of something that you want, instead of overcoming it, you often just dig in and activate the absence of it in a stronger way, and so it doesn't break loose for you. And so a distracting process is a very helpful thing. We've been saying recently, maybe you've heard us say it because we've been saying it a lot recently, that when you first awaken in the morning, that's the time when you have the least momentum going on from your thoughts from the day before. And the momentum of your thought is not something to be taken lightly, because law of attraction is keeping that momentum going. So if you have let's use the word belief. A belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. A belief is a thought that has a lot of momentum going. And a thought that has a lot of momentum going is going to show up because it's got momentum going, so it's going to attract evidence, which is why you believe it. I thought that's the way that it was, and now this proves to me that it is the way that it was or is, and now I'm focused upon it and I'm remembering it, and I'm talking to other people about it, so you keep that momentum going. And so there are many things, wanted and unwanted, that humans keep going just because they don't understand that they have the power to focus around unwanted things. They just often don't do it. So we've been saying to you that when you awaken in the morning, while you slumbered, your momentum stopped because your vibration wasn't active. It doesn't mean that you'll never think those thoughts again, but it means when you first awaken, your best chance of choosing a new thought is then. Your best chance of focusing in a way that feels better is when you first awaken in the morning. And so we've been encouraging that you spend the next 30 days just deliberately intending to wake up feeling good. And sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. Esther has been playing the game for nearly 2 months now, where she will awaken, and the first thing she acknowledges is, I'm awake, this is a new day, this is a new beginning. My momentum stopped while I was, and right now I have the ability to choose the momentum of this day, which means if she will look for something to appreciate and hold it for as little as 17 seconds, momentum gets going. But if she awakens and recalls that troubling thing that happened yesterday, and she doesn't catch it in the first 17 seconds, then there's a high probability that the momentum is going to begin in the direction of something that she did not want. It's all about focus, you see. We've been talking about momentum and about this 17 seconds and about how when you begin your day, you get to choose, and law of attraction will continue to feed to you things that support and increase and enhance that. So Esther said to a friend the other day, I have something that I need to tell you, and I only have 17 seconds to do it in. Because, and of course, that's not exactly the way we intended to use that 17 seconds. I've got 17 seconds to be as negative as I can be, which means I'm going to be talking really, 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 really fast, because I have a lot to say, and I can say it in 17 seconds, but you've got to really listen up here. Well, it sort of loses the spirit of the thing. So what we want you to do is to find that high-flying place. We've been calling it this high-flying vibration. And as you find it, and with a little bit of attention and focus, maintain it, it will increase until you have shown yourself. You see, loving oneself, that feeling of self-love or that feeling of worthiness, that's just standing in a place and seeing the world through the eyes of Source. It's not just loving yourself, it's loving. In other words, you can't love yourself and hate someone else. That doesn't work out. You are either in the vibration of love or you are not, you see. And so, as you find those ways of distracting yourself from any vibration that is keeping you from that, it will be there. So, we've been fashioning together, and we know you've been hearing us, a combination of things that if you can hear it, and if you will just gently and easily, it is easy, apply it, you will find yourself in a short period of time transformed in this sense. Your base vibration will shift enough that everything in your life will shift enough that you will then understand that you are the creator of your own reality, that you can be the creator of your own reality, and most important, you will feel the appreciation that Source feels for you, which is that self-love that you're reaching for. It's also that feeling of worthiness that you're reaching for.
You're absolutely correct, because since I've been waking up feeling much, much better, focusing on higher vibration things, I actually feel lighter, I eat better, it changes everything in my entire day. You know, when I begin my day.
Because it's your point of attraction, so everything is affected by that, isn't it? We want to go back to something and just enhance it just a little bit more, and that is, so here you are in your physical body, and you're thinking thoughts, and by virtue of the thoughts you're thinking, you're attracting to you. And then, if you're like most humans, you're making a judgment of how you're doing based upon what's coming to you. And so, if wonderful things are coming, you're probably feeling proud of yourself, and maybe even blessed and worthy, fortunate. But if things are not going well, then you're probably feeling not blessed and not worthy and unfortunate. And it feels like you don't really that to themselves. They believe that if they really had creative control, that their lives would be better. And we say, you really do have creative control, you just haven't been exercising it very well because you've been thinking sloppy thoughts. You've been letting yourself ponder things just because they're there to be pondered, rather than because they feel good when you ponder them. The other day, Esther was editing, and she sits with her computer, and she had turned the television on for company. She likes the light flashing a little bit in the room. And so while she was editing, occasionally she was just glancing up to see what was going on television. And she could just tell by what she was seeing that it was either a commercial that wasn't good feeling or it was a program that wasn't good feeling. And so Esther thought, I wonder if there are any really beautiful landscapes or something that it would flow through my television, that when I happened to glance up, I would catch a waterfall or I would catch a beautiful sunset. And she went through 1,000 channels. 1,000 channels, and did not find anything of that nature. And she thought, it's no wonder that some of us are having a difficult time focusing upon the beauty of the world, because much of the world seems to be focused on the problem of the world. But when you get it, that how you feel is all that matters, because how you feel equals your point of attraction, and what your point of attraction is equaling everything that's coming to you. It makes you sort of want to start at the beginning somehow and get off on the right foot. And that's what we're talking about here. Getting up in the morning and getting off on the right foot. The first day you might not even make it till breakfast before you find something that you're worried about. And the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. But by the time you're into this a week or two, you will have shown yourself, and this is really the point that we're making, you will have shown yourself that by focusing and deliberately flowing with law of attraction as you now know it to be, that you are controlling your vibrational output, which means you are now controlling what comes back to you. And after this gets rolling, and you begin to see the effect of it, you begin to know, in most cases, for the first time in your life, how beautiful you are, how loved you are, and how much resource of source is focused to you. And you begin to realize that you've been the only one who was pinching it off all along, and you weren't doing it on purpose, but now you know about it. Now there's no reason to do it again. There's no reason to do it again. But you got to practice. You got to give it at least 30 days before you will show yourself how worthy you are. You see? Really good.
I want to thank you for everything that you've done for this world. It's really amazing, the work that you've done.
We really appreciate your words there, but we want you to know that all of you came into this perfect environment knowing that you would be inspired to desires that you weren't up to speed with a guidance system within you that would lead you toward alignment and joyful expansion. The thing that you are appreciating with us is that because we know so clearly who you really are, and we never let you distract us from that knowing. If you are willing to get into the vicinity of what we know about you, you'll know it too. That's all we're doing. We're just keeping the light on. Yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, I'll share a fun experience from call them my own nerves. When I got here, I was at Myrtle Beach last week, and I said, I always watch the live stream. I said, I'm going to go have my first workshop and be there in person. And I said, it'd be cool to see Esther before the workshop even begins. And I wanted to be, her in her own time, quiet, not bothered. And of course, when I was here yesterday, I went to the spa for a while, and I got back to my room, and for whatever reason, it was like this big, I don't feel this, but it was like this big hurry. It was like I needed to go down and print the registration form and sign it so I could bring here this morning. And it's like, I just had the urge to go, like go, like when you're an 8-year-old kid, and it's time to go to the fair. take your time to put your pants and shoes on. Like it's time to go. And it was like that.
Yeah.
And so I get on the elevator, and the bellman jumps on there with me, and it's like I was going to print out the registration form, and he goes, "Well, what are you up to? Where are you headed?" I said, "I'm just fishing," which is weird because that's not what I was doing. It's like at some level, I guess I knew I was. And I got to the lobby and turned around, and there's Esther right there. And go ahead.
So what you're describing in perfect description is an impulse that has the potential of satisfying an intention. And because of the absence of resistance, the impulse is understood.
Right.
And that's the difference between motivation and inspiration. In other words, the impulse is so clear that nothing's going to keep you from it. And it wasn't even an impulse to specifically rendezvous with Esther in that moment. It was an impulse that you couldn't explain until after what you wanted happened.
Right. It would have felt unnatural to stay in the room. Like, exactly.
It would have felt unnatural, and it would have, unnatural because the energy was calling you otherwise.
Right.
And this is what this seminar is really about, is following those impulses. And the more you prepare that grid, the more you will be in the place that you will feel those impulses. And timing is everything, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
When I got back to my room, and I sort of visited with you about it. I said, because I said I would talk about this today. I said the best thing to come of that is now I know what a yes from the universe feels like. And it's like I said.
Yeah.
It was that. It wasn't a hurry like when you're in traffic trying to get somewhere. It was a hurry like going to the fair when you're a kid. It was a good...
Come this way, come this way,
right.
Come this way, come this way. And that's what's happening all day, every day. That's what we mean when we say, we know where you stand in relationship with everything that you want. And we know what the path of least resistance is. And the more willing and compliant you are, then the more you sense. Because you can't orchestrate that stuff.
No.
It's a vibrational, intuitive response to the big picture. Yeah. Really good.
Well, the funny part about it is, like, all of my closest friends are professional athletes. So, of course, I had to walk right by her, and it's like we just acknowledged each other. I didn't feel right saying anything to her because I want to call her out. I don't want to put her in an awkward situation because I know people I know how they respond to that. So it's just sort of funny because I held myself back from something that was a green light.
But you got everything you wanted.
I did,
You got everything. Everything that you wanted was satisfied there.
I did.
Everything that you wanted was satisfied. And Esther knew it too. When she saw you see her, she knew that you knew and contemplated walking to you and then held back deliberately because she didn't want to mess up with what you had going on.
You're right. Good. I have one more. I've had a very good career in motor racing, working in the top tiers of NASCAR and so on. And in my life, I started out as a golfer. I mean, I played in a lot of tournaments and so on, and then I had two passions, so I did the racing thing for the last 8 years, traveling the world. And it's like now that really feels like it's ceasing, and the golfing is expanding from what I'm learning because the racing is feeling more like bondage, and golf, it feels more like calling my own shots. But I mean, it is. It is.
In every sense.
It is. I didn't even think about that. But if you could work, as you can see my energy, there's some blocks in the golfing thing because there's for whatever reason, I'm the kind of guy where if I go to the course and I walk the course and I play it all by myself, phenomenal things will happen. But not it won't feel that way to me, but it's good. And it's like, it draws a crowd. And when I become aware of a crowd watching, lights out. It's like it's hard to, it's like I'm very much an empath, like I'm energy with people.
That's why Esther didn't walk up to you.
Right.
It's that sort of thing.
It steals the experience.
But it doesn't have to.
Right.
Because the more secure you are, and that's an odd word, but the more stable you are, the more practiced you are at that alignment, which you completely understand what we're talking about.
Without a doubt.
Let's go back to an easier way to discuss this. When you are thinking about the vortex in your inner being, and you are tuning yourself to that period, and then you are experiencing the positive repercussions of that deliberate alignment, then no matter what happens in the manifestation or repercussions or evidence, you can stand stable. So it's all about how steady you are before someone gets your attention. In earlier discussions, the way we define that is most people, when they are born, are lured, called away from their alignment with their inner being. Because people around them want them to behave in ways that please them, and because you want to perform in ways that please them, because there's benefit all around in that.
Right. I want us all to feel good. Right.
You want everyone to feel good.
Well, I mean, when I'm there, like, I want us to have fun, at least in my bubble, around me. Like, I want everyone to have a comfortable, easy experience. But let's just put it this way. Here's a better way I can word it. Like, I can read energy really, 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 really easily. And, I feel it. Like, it's been really good being in this room with everyone today for me. But on the other end of that token, I can go to the Asheville Mall tonight and I'll walk out of there feeling 15 years older than I do right now. Because, not because anyone has a negative intent towards me. It's just I'll feel things that aren't me. And it's hard to stand my own ground. And that's what goes on in the golf.
Well, the question, and you're right on it, and you've laid the perfect platform for us to have this discussion fully, because first and most important to understand is that it doesn't matter what the energy of the crowd around you is. It only matters what your relationship to your grid is.
Right.
So you can't dial into a vibrational station that isn't active somehow in your vibration. So what's going on is your observation of reality is causing an adjustment to your vibration that then subsequently brings a response from the reality that confirms it. And so it's sort of a cycle. But at the basis of this cycle is an unstable vibration. It's an undisciplined vibration. It's an unpracticed vibration, which you're now doing something about. In other words, most people are just running around observing and then having knee-jerk responses to what they are observing. When you start feeling vulnerable, when you feel paranoid, we're not talking about you, we're talking about people. When you feel negative things coming from people, it's not because they're out there broadcasting it, because they're broadcasting a variety of things around you all the time. The question is, where have you got your tuner set, you see? Now, in context of everything that we've been talking about here today, we don't want you to freak out or worry at all about that, because it's a natural thing. Adjusting your energy and learning about your energy is just as important as any contrast that you would be living. So if you go someplace and you come out of there feeling 15 years older with your energy drained and not feeling the fun and enthusiasm for life that you're accustomed
to. And then I beat up on myself because I know I'm doing it.
Don't beat up on yourself. Instead, stop and say, this is a contrasting experience that is reminding me that I didn't take time before I walked into that mall to prepare my grid. That's all. In the past, we've called it pre-paving. We've called it segment intending. I didn't prepare my grid. And the more you deliberately do segment intend and prepare your grid and then get the results that you want, the more insignificant until the completely irrelevant will become other people's attention to you. It's an interesting thing because we said to Esther, Jerry was for a while reading on the internet things that people had to say about the work or about him or about Esther.
Right.
And he asked us what we thought about it. And we said, because there was so much that is wonderful that is written there.
Right.
And some that isn't so wonderful. And we said, if it matters to you what the good ones say,
Right.
then
And
it's
that's
going to
the
matter
other
to
coin.
you what
Right.
the not good ones say.
You're right.
And since you have no control over what anybody else's perspective is,
Right.
then you're just setting yourself up for a rougher ride than you need to have. And so we've talked about it in lots of different ways. We would not for a moment want you to withdraw your attention from how you are being perceived, because the way you parlay your magnificence into greater and greater beingness is by having exposure to those experiences that make you decide, who you are. We just want you to know that once you get a consistent handle on how you feel about you, the world will reflect it back to you. And it's a really satisfying thing. You know that as they do that. Further back? Yes? Stand? Yes? The person furthest forward? Yes.
Johanna, I have a simple question and then I have another one, but why do we cry?
Well, let's begin by establishing that all emotion is a relationship thing. It's the vibrational proximity between who you've become and who you're allowing yourself to be. And so let's further say that all energy is in motion. So it's fair to say that a great deal of your time you are on your way into or out of the vortex. Since energy is always in motion. So sometimes when you first get into the vortex, if it has been spinning particularly fast relative to some very meaningful subject, and you are just in the process of getting up to speed with it, you'll have sort of tears of joy as you are welling up with the fullness of who you are. And sometimes when you've recently stepped out of the vortex, you are crying in your discordant realization of not being up to speed with who you really are.
So it's like an entrance or exit.
Not exactly, but it's a good way of saying it. It's like Jerry and Esther, in their realization of their alignment with us, once they began meditating seriously, meaning every day for 15 or 20 minutes, Esther began noticing many episodes in every day of shivers of pleasure coming up her spine. And she associated it with us, but what it really was her focusing upon something that brought her quickly up to speed with who we were. So it was the relationship between where she was and where she is that brought the sensation. And then as we visited with them about it, Jerry said, well, he remembers as a child those other kind of shivers, like creepy ones, where he was worried about something in the bushes or something like that. And we said, it's the same thing. As you said, it's entering or exiting. That's where you're in a higher vibration and you focus upon something that suddenly takes you away from who you are. And so commonly people say I was overwhelmed with tears of joy. And we say you just weren't accustomed to being up to speed with who you really are. You sort of surprised yourself with your connection. The more you come into alignment, the less tearful you'll be. Because the next logic, you just expect to know and you expect things to go well. But you like the drama. You really do. That's why you're in and out and 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 in and out. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's something sort of exhilarating about being a little hungry. You probably don't remember that. But there is something sort of nice about being a little hungry because everything's more poignant. Yes.
The other point of my question, I know that I'm here to teach, and I enjoy teaching. It's my passion. I love it. And I do that through my poetry. And I wanted to know, how can I best help my family, my friends? I feel that I came into this world as a black female American for a reason. And how should I use that outer peeling? Because that's all it is. It's just the outside of me that people see. How can I best use that to really to be an example for the people around me?
Well, we have a question for you. From inside the vortex, do you think that outer peeling is an issue or not?
No.
So when you're inside the vortex, then it becomes inconsequential.
Correct.
And that's how you offer the most, by making it a non-issue. It's interesting. Esther's notice says she's felt us flowing through her for so many years in formats like this. She can feel that there is not a difference from Abraham's viewpoint of male energy, female energy, the different religions, in other words, the races. When you begin approaching life vibrationally, a lot of the separation and pigeonholing that people have been using as their excuse to evaluate or to like or to choose or to judge or mostly to resist falls away. So, really what we're talking about here, do we agree that, better way of saying it is, do you agree with us? And another way of saying it is, it would be good if you do because we're always right.
I was going to say, I'm not going to argue with Abraham.
But can you feel easy agreement with the idea that this is a vibrational universe?
Yes.
And that the vibration is the foundation of everything.
Yes.
And isn't it easy to also agree that the contrast that exists in its variety is a very good thing?
Yes.
So at what point does variety or contrast become a bad thing?
Never.
Well, from the greater perspective, we would agree that contrast is good in that it evokes clarification. But here's a better way of asking the question in order to evoke a more accurate answer.
Okay. So why do we have the contrast?
So how could contrast be utilized in a beneficial way?
Yes.
And how is contrast utilized in a not beneficial way? And we say it always provides benefit. That's right, because it always puts something in your vibrational reality, into your vortex of creation. But after that rocket has been launched, if you continue to use the contrast and you continue to feel bad as you focus, now contrast isn't serving you, because it served you and you didn't take the expansion that it provided you see. And there are so many people that for generations continue to beat the same negative drums. They continue to find the same things that they push against. And so that's what you're reaching for. You're wanting to build bridges to help people to understand sameness in the sense of sourceness.
That's one of the things that I've been realizing, that so many people in my culture are still stuck in the past and stuck there. And I'm wanting us to move forward and get past that. And you're saying take the contrast and run. And go forward with it instead of using it as an excuse to stay in the past or where you were.
We're saying convince yourself that contrast is good no matter how it feels in the moment.
Okay.
Because contrast, no matter how it felt in the moment, launched something further. And then we're saying turn your undivided attention as quickly as you can toward what you want.
Okay.
And of course, we've said this endlessly in so many ways. Focus upon what you want and rather than upon the lack of it, and reach for the thoughts that feel as good as you can find from where you are.
Yes.
So It's surprising, maybe, but the most effective poetry, the most effective teaching is the least controversial. It's the simplest. It's what appeals to the core of the most, you see. We never see protesters making that difference that you're wanting to make.
Yeah.
It's always the soother that makes the difference, because the contrast is caused the asking. And there are so many people on both sides of every issue who have put what they want in the vortex, and surprisingly, what they want is the same thing. If they could just get into the vortex, they would find harmony with the enemy that caused them expansion. Such an interesting thing.
Most of my poetry is about soothing, and I notice people seem to just start to float, and they go into the vortex as they listen. They start off with resistance, and then they just start to melt down, and then at the end, they have a big smile on their faces.
Well, it always feels better to release resistance.
Yes, and that's why we cry. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Namaste.
I want to thank you for changing my life. I want to thank Jerry, can you hear me okay? I want to thank Jerry and Esther for devoting your lives so that the rest of us can learn these principles and have these tools to improve our lives.
Well, Jerry and Esther were talking about this just yesterday. And while this is their life, it's with very selfish reason that they do it. Because nothing feels better than being who you've become. In other words, there are many things that you could spend your time doing, but nothing that ever feels as good as doing what you came to do, or doing what is in your vortex, or doing what you've expanded to. There is no regression. You cannot move back from that which you are. And it's always a reaching forward. And so their appreciation is enormous as they focus upon those like you who are willing to extend yourselves. Look at you. Look who you are and where you are and what you are reaching for. In other words, it is your contribution that is taking this message out there beyond that which it has been. They are now feeling like those boys in those boats that are just experiencing the ride of a lifetime based upon the momentum that you are all offering here, you see.
Well, Jerry and Esther are very inspirational, and I just want to say thank you. And also thank you to everybody here who's asked all these
Indeed.
wonderful questions.
Indeed.
I have a question that's really just asking you to clarify something that was said the first day. You had said that one who is connected to the stream is more powerful than millions who are not. And then when one of the first gentlemen...
Because source energy is the power. And when you are in alignment with the source energy, now you are enacting the energy that creates worlds.
And then when one of the first gentlemen was talking about work, how he had gone through the process of interviewing for a specific job, and you asked the question, he thought that the process had gone well, and then you asked the question very early on, was he in alignment with the people with whom he was interviewing? So for me the question is, I work in an industry, in an aspect of an industry, in a world where I know how well stocked the kitchen is, and it seems that everybody around me is putting Tabasco in their pie. And I'm just, and so when you ask that question, are you in alignment with everybody around you? I'm actually in alignment with nobody around me, or so it feels much of the time. But I have felt that
you see, that is a flawed premise also, because in every particle of everything in the universe are aspects that are in alignment with who you are and aspects that are not. And so this is a focusing thing that you're talking about, not a what-isness of others. In other words, to say, I'm not in alignment with that person or with these people or with this segment, I'm not in alignment with that particle of anything, is a flawed premise. The accurate premise would be, I'm choosing an aspect of them that takes me out of harmony with who I am. You see, because the potential for harmony, what we're saying bluntly to all of you, is that in every person, in every particle of the universe, there are matches to what's in your vortex. And if you're not finding them, it means that you're not the match to who you really are that you want to be. Because where the conversation goes, if you don't clear up that flawed premise, is others need to be different, or I need to find others who are different before I can be in my vortex, and that just is not accurate. You can be in your vortex because you have the power to focus upon the best of others, and there are good things that match who you really are and what you really want in everyone. So a more accurate statement would be, I'm a lazy focuser. Because we will acknowledge that they might be predominantly horrible. And so it's easier if you're just casting a lazy eye, it's easier to find what you don't want, and harder, as our friend said, to find what you do want. But it's just all about focusing, you see.
I make lists of positive aspects. It has absolutely transformed my experience with so many. And I really feel the extraordinary shift of my vibration of who I am.
You see, there's a more important conversation that we want to have here, and that is every person who behaved in a way that was offensive or uncomfortable or didn't feel like it was in alignment, every incident like that happened caused you to put a new and improved version of them over here. So now all you're saying to us is, it's easier to look over there than over here. That's all you're saying. In other words, do you hear us when we say, when you're sick, you ask for wellness, and vibrationally speaking, you are weller? So if someone is rude, you ask for them to be understanding, or you ask for them to be in alignment with who they are. And the fact that you're looking back on their current state of rudeness is your problem. You could look upon what you've put into vibrational escrow. How do you feel about that? Many are annoyed. Because what we're actually saying to you is, unequivocally, is that how you feel is based upon where you focus, not upon what's around you that you might focus upon. Humans have been talking about unconditional love, but what you ask of each other are very specific conditions that are more lovable. You say to your children, you're bothering me, you need to change. You say to your government, or to your economy, or to your ecology, or even to your own physical body, you need to be different. Because when I look at you as you are, I don't feel good. And we say, it's about the looking, it's not about the looked at.
So I don't have to be, okay, so the original thing is, I don't have to be in vibrational alignment with everybody with whom I'm working. I need to be in vibrational alignment with myself, obviously.
And when you are in vibrational alignment with who you really are, you'll be in a vibrational alignment with all of them, because there are aspects of them that are in a vibrational alignment with who you are. In other words, you'll see them through the eyes of Source, and they will be beautiful.
I'll just see the God in everyone.
Or you'll see the step one in them.
Yeah.
This is what is at the confusion of all religions. People just can't sort it out. If God or Source is who we say He is, then why would he allow this to exist? And then they just spend all their time outside the vortex trying to decide what aspects of it should be allowed and what aspects of it shouldn't be allowed. Not understanding that Source knows the perfection in the step one contrasting moment. Think about how aligned you can be if you're even loving your step one moment. You like solutions, but if you didn't have a problem, there wouldn't be a solution. Think about that. And the solution is expansion. The solution is futuristic. The solution is what eternity is about. Without a question, there cannot be a satisfying answer. So which part of it is the good part? The question or the answer, the problem or the solution? What part's the good part? Or do we need to separate the good part from the bad part? Why can't it all be of value?